Welcome back. In the latest Sex and the City reboot, Carrie Bradshaw's breakup from her longtime pal Samantha, RIP, was a sad reminder that not all friendships are made to last.
It can be a tough pill to swallow. So to help us make sense of those friendship breakdowns, psychologist Dr. Marnie Leishman joins us now. Marnie, good morning. Thanks for your time. It is an experience that many of us have faced, isn't it? What is the best way to respond when a friend decides to cut ties with you?
Oh, we've all been there, haven't we? And it can be an incredibly uncomfortable time when this happens to us. But I think initially our reactions, it really depends. It's such an individual experience. It really depends on how the breakup happens. So for some people, the breakup's been a slow demise where people have drifted apart. Other times it's a bit of a ghosting where it's an abrupt ending to a relationship and no one knows why. Other times there's conflict involved. So there's almost a definite reason that all parties know about. And other times it's a well-explained breakup and ending, and there's a range of feelings that come from that. And it's an emotional loss, it's a grief. So those emotions can be anything from confusion and denial through to anger before we get to a level of acceptance. But I think it's really important for all of us, whatever emotions we feel in terms of being on the receiving end of a breakup, it's really important that we sit in those emotions because they're all valid.
Okay, but once I've sat in them, Marnie, how do I know whether to make amends with this friend or do I just accept their decision and move on?
Yeah, this is a hard one because we're pretty good at knowing how we feel and why we feel like that. But often we don't get a good understanding of why our friend is breaking up with us. So we know what we want to do, but this is where empathy is a bit of a superpower. So that's the ability to look through the lens of another person other than ourselves. So getting a bit of an understanding and sitting in trying to understand the why behind the breakup will actually give you more information as to whether the friendship is actually worth saving. So yeah, getting an understanding of why the friend is moving away from you is really important, and then you have more information to make a decision for yourself.
It's their fault.
Okay, so always, never your fault, never. What happens when you and that friend run in the same circles and your other mates all become tangled up in this? How do you sort of protect them from that drama?
Oh, yeah, it's hard. I think it's perfectly natural, isn't it, that we turn to our friendship groups, don't we, for support, particularly if we're very highly emotional about what's going on with that said friend. And we want to debrief, we want to talk about, we want to get their perspectives, but often it actually makes things worse because you'll find in your pack, in your little friendship group, we're all connected at different levels, aren't we? And we're all friends for different reasons. So sometimes, yeah, other people's perspective isn't particularly helpful, and tangling everybody else in it actually makes things worse. So that's why it's so important, like we just discussed, to actually ask the person and have your own empathy to understand why that particular friend and what their reasons are for breakup, and really start with that first and foremost.
But once you've both gone through your sort of growth period and, as you move on in life, water goes under the bridge and all that sort of stuff, can you reconnect?
Yeah, well, that's a magic question, isn't it? I mean, the future doesn't exist, and most of us are not fortune tellers, unfortunately. So who knows? And this is why it's so important not to be driven by how we feel when a breakup happens, because it can get nasty sometimes because we can get very hurt depending on what the reason is. So you don't want to be volatile and angry and spat out a whole heap of things you actually don't mean in the heat of the moment. So I think, I think the more you listen to how you feel and respect why the other person broke up, you're more likely to rekindle in the future.
Good
and
advice.
If not, you're on different pathways.
Let's leave it there, Marnie. We're going to break up with you.
Appreciate your help. You can come back anytime. We'll see you soon.
Oh, wonderful.
Thanks, Marnie.
Thank you.
Next in the news, Victoria.